What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MLB Swing for the Fences show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking today's 9-game MLB Sunday afternoon slate, and joined, I believe, for the first time all year, writer of playbooks, very involved in the MLB streets. I know he's had some big wins along the way, but I don't know, AP. They won't let you on the show. You don't want to come on the show. You don't like me. I don't know what's going on, but listen, I'm happy to have you here on this Sunday morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, I got the call up, and I think Bryce and I think they're getting after it up in Detroit at the golf final. So I mean, look, like can't expect them to do the show from there, especially probably still drunk. And actually, kind of wild. Like my first show, been very involved. I mean, I do like 8 playbooks a week, and so like I feel like I've never been more dialed as far as MLB goes, and I need to get on more shows. We're kind of looking at potentially on Saturdays, since I'm doing those slates anyways, having a member only show where we're highlighting SaberSim and going really deep and in depth with SaberSim. So that's in the works. Hopefully we get that going here next Saturday. Outside of that, it's just whenever someone needs me, I can hop on. Hopefully not a lot of Sundays, because usually I'm not like, not feeling the best on Sunday mornings, but feeling pretty good this morning.
Yeah, we discussed pre-show. I think you might be feeling a little better than me. There's Bryce in the chat. Bryce, I did see your message in the coordinator's chat asking for the show off.
I know that message. I've sent a few of those.
I briefly considered doing the same thing. I knew what you're going through this Sunday morning, but we're here. We're talking baseball. We're picking winners, hopefully. And I got, I know it was a good night in the streets, AP, when I've got my mentions are just blowing up with people arguing politics on both sides of tweets that I sent. That's always I just go ahead and mute those. I never look what anybody says, and I get 100 notifications a day. It's fantastic.
I mean, how can you not like the? I mean, we probably don't need to get into that, but you were spot on as from like a content standpoint, and just like that debate and all the stuff that you could take from it, and just laugh or be scared or be whatever, because it's like, oh my gosh, like we might just be screwed. It is what it is. But I got a good laugh out of that debate, and your tweets are good. I think I liked a few of them, so we're all good there.
Yeah, they seem like, I don't know, whatever side people are on, they think that my tweets are one-sided, favoring the other side, right? Because people are just so angry about politics. Whatever side you're on, they think the other side is just like the complete devil, and it's ridiculous. But we won't go too far into that.
So my last word on that topic is I always watch the stock market pretty closely. It reacted fine the next day. We did not see a sell-off. We did not see anything like that. I think it actually went up. So it's like the stock market's not worried. I mean, who knows?
I mean, I don't know how you could watch that debate and not think that Joe Biden memes and jokes are funny, right? Like, even if you're on that side, I just don't get how you would have to be, in my opinion, so indoctrinated into that belief to not find what he was doing funny on that particular night, right? It doesn't mean whatever way you want to vote, but I just don't.
I actually don't think we're screwed. It is what it is. I mean, you need a competent leader, but look,
I don't think
things are going to be fine. Yeah, things are going to be fine. As long as we can gamble and have a good time, we're going to be good.
People have been predicting the end of humanity or America every election, right? Since the dawn of time, before the U.S. exists. We're still here. We're doing good. We get to play MLB DFS today, and we're going to keep it moving.
Should we retitle the show to Sunday Morning Politics with DC and AP?
That's a good discussion. The other thing I wanted to talk to you, AP, now you got me going. Listen, we'll get to the basics. But I know the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, but there's been a lot of the Mahomes haters. Somehow they still exist out there in the universe. Mahomes had his worst season ever. The Mahomes magic is gone. He's got the dad bod. I think we're about to see the Mahomes revenge tour starting up here in 2 months with the new wide receiver crew. Oh, man. Hollywood Brown. I know Rashid Rice is going to have a 4 to 6 game suspension, it seems like. And then Xavier Worthy, the two fastest dudes in the league on the outside. Listen, you want to say Travis Kelce's in decline. I won't deny that, but I still think he can do his thing. And I think the defense won't be quite as good, right? They lost L'Jarius Sneed, and I think Mahomes is getting back to that 50 touchdown season. I don't know if you're in the best ball streets quite yet, AP, but
I have 100%.
Always Mahomes is back. I jumped off the train a little bit last year. I think, mostly to good results, but I think the Chiefs are back this year. Very quickly on the Chiefs. We'll talk baseball.
We do need like a Chiefs homer show because you have the Chiefs hater show, which I love. I'm a big supporter and viewer and watcher every single week. Love ODB, Big T, JSU, Chiefs hater. We need a Chiefs homer show. But I agree there with CTK. I have 100% draft rate of Patrick Mahomes in best ball. But I've only, full transparency, I've only made one for one. So the 1 for 1. Yep.
I addressed this right off the jump, Lake Bum. The Chiefs, I mean, it's kind of true. They won the Super Bowl mostly on the backs of their defense. But I think this year is going to be a different story with Mahomes company. All right. No more Chiefs, no more politics. We're here for baseball. Let's get into it. San Diego Padres, Boston Red Sox. It's always weird to transition to the actual sport when you're talking about other stuff, but here we are. We're doing it. Padres, Red Sox, 10.5 total in Fenway Park. I think, AP, the best hitting weather that we've seen in Boston for the entire season. 90 degrees, humid, and 15 to 20 mile per hour winds blowing straight out to center field. This is a hitter's park in neutral conditions, and you put these conditions there, and it turns into something that can just go absolutely crazy. We've got Josh Winkowski pitching for Boston, who's actually been okay this season. I'm not really a long-term believer in his. No interest in playing him. I do like both offenses. And then the other side of this game, I think, is the really interesting one. We've been, or at least I've been riding the Matt Waldron train for a while now, the knuckleballer, or 30, 40% knuckleballs. He's been really, really effective going deep into games. But, man, I just have a feeling that this game is going to go south for Matt Waldron in Fenway Park in this weather. I like both offenses a lot here. I know, they're going to be popular, I'm sure, to some degree. But, man, this game seems like it could be full of runs in Fenway. No interest in either pitcher for me, AP. What are you doing, though, with this game, San Diego and Boston?
Yeah, I wrote up the Padres as one of my top stacks. They're really interesting. Despite having Fernando Tatis, it really hasn't mattered. Like, they've stayed so hot, and I keep kicking myself because I keep writing that in these playbooks and looking at that, and they don't stop hitting the ball, and it's been really interesting. It's kind of the bottom of the order that's really hot. Boynton's boy, Hadon Kim is what we call him. Kyle, what's their pitcher's name? Higio Shaka? I'm gonna butcher so many names on this. Their catcher. I mean, at the bottom of the order.
I got you.
Yeah, I lost my lineups page, so I don't have their lineup right in front of me right now. Yeah. He's been absolutely mashing the ball. This team is just red hot right now, and I love the matchup. The side that I think is more interesting, especially in tournaments, and it's because I've played them and they've done absolutely nothing. But man, anytime we get Boston against a righty, I always have interest. I love how they have so many lefties in there, lefties that absolutely can mash right-handed pitching. Jarren Duran, Hamilton, Devers, obviously. Valdez has been hitting the ball really well. I like this spot. I actually had, how I do my rundowns, I kind of list out any and every viable pitching option that I see that could be viable. And then I go through and I look at basically everything. I write it out, in the playbook. I don't play all of those guys, but I initially had Waldron in my pool. But then I looked at the hitting conditions in Fenway, and then when you look at this lineup, there's just no way I could even consider playing him, even if the Red Sox have been a little cool of late. I think it's a good spot to get on them, and I think enough people out there are probably like me. They have that bad taste in their mouth, and it could maybe lower ownership a little bit. So I do have a lot of interest in the Red Sox side of the stack.
Yeah, Red Sox are always interesting with speed at the top of their lineup with Duran and Hamilton, two of the biggest stolen base artists in the game.
There's going to be plenty of this, Kevin. There's going to be plenty of this because I watch a lot of baseball, but I don't I have the volume off. I don't listen to a lot of baseball. So
yeah, I totally get it. But I was going to say Waldron, very easy to steal against. No surprise given, a third of his pitches are knuckleballs, which is the best pitch to run on of any pitch in baseball in general. He's given up 9 stolen bases this year. Gave up 8 last year in 41 innings. So Duran, Hamilton, Abreu at the top of the lineup. Not only do they have the right side of the platoon split, extremely good hitting conditions in Fenway. I also think they're going to be off to the races in this game if they get a chance. I think the Red Sox stack it. I've been with you. I mean, maybe part of the reason you played, maybe I don't know. I've been a lot of Red Sox in the cores recently, and have generally not come through. But I'm going back to it today. And you mentioned you had Waldron, initially as a decent play. I actually don't think that's the craziest play in the slate. I am on the Red Sox side of this game, but I assume Waldron will have 0 ownership. I'm looking right now. Sabres got him at 0.3% owned, so less than 1%. I mean, we don't know what the knuckleball is going to do there, right? And it's at least possible that it's immune to the hitting conditions, right? Like it has been kind of for the last month or two. It's just such a unique pitch that you just don't know how it's going to react. I don't know how it's going to react, but if you're playing a lot of lineups, I don't think playing some Matt Waldron is crazy here. You got to get the ball up in the air to have success. And if that thing is dancing, it's possible Boston just goes down again. So I don't think I'll get to Waldron, but I don't think he is the craziest play if you're looking to get a little bit off the board. Part of the problem, AP, is there are some very, very enticing pitchers on the slate that makes it hard to get to a guy like Waldron. But I don't think it's the craziest play, even though I do like the Red Sox quite a lot. Miami and Philadelphia are up next. This one also at 1:35 Eastern time. We've got Ranger Suarez, obviously been outstanding for the Phillies all year long. He's had, I wouldn't say hiccups. He hasn't been quite as dominant over the last month or so. That was to be expected. There was just no way he was going to run a 1.2 ERA all year long. But he does get a very good matchup here against Miami, who's obviously a light hitting squad in general. Looks like Suarez come in around 10 to 15% owned. I think that makes sense. 10.5K. I know how good he's been this season. That still feels like a lot to pay for him, even in a good matchup to me. And then extremely favorable hitting conditions in Philadelphia as well. 90 degrees, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds out to center field. Humid. Ball will be jumping here as well. And I like the Phillies a lot. I think they'll be popular. I was on Kansas City, your Royals, AP, against Chirinos in that last start. Didn't work out. But I'm still pretty sure Chirinos is a very, very borderline MLB starting pitcher. You give me that facing this Phillies team. I know they're missing Harper and Schwarber. There's still plenty of bats I want here. Specifically, the top 5, I think, are all strong plays against Chirinos and the Miami Marlins. And then not really going to Miami bats myself. What are you doing, AP, with Philadelphia and Miami?
Yeah, I mean, Ranger Suarez, when you look at his price tag, it's kind of mind-blowing, especially when you go back to last season. What was he, 4-6? He was hovering around like a 4.28 xERA. I mean, everything has just been like insanely different.
I actually don't think he's that much of a different pitcher this year than he was last year. That's just how.
What do you think it is? Like, what do you think it is then?
He's changed his pitch mix a little bit, but I mean, there's nothing here that is at all sustainable, right? Which is why I haven't really played much Ranger Suarez, and there's just no chance I'm paying 10.5K on this slate for him.
So here's the thing. We talk about it all the time. Crazy things happen on Sundays. Now, how you interpret that is kind of up to you. You could interpret that as Suarez is going to deal and he's going to pay off his 10-point, 5K price tag against a Marlins team that has just been horrendous. An 80 ISO, 232 WOBA, striking out at almost a slate high, 27% over the last month versus left-handed pitching. I mean, I can't get over the price tag, and we're going to have some bats that we want to spend up for on this slate. So it is kind of difficult. The other thing is all of those things, and then when you look at the other pitching options on this slate, I just can't see how he can get a ton of ownership. I'm trying to think of a similar situation. I think it was last Tuesday when we had the 3K Millie. Who was the Royals pitcher that was in the winning lineup? I struggled with his price tag, and I felt like he was overpriced in relation to the other options. No, it wasn't Reagan's. It had to be
Lugo.
No, it had to be Seth Lugo, and I think he absolutely pitched a gem. He's on today's slate too. So it's like sometimes you just have to rely on the flow chart, and I love that our guy Big T added that to his player sheet. He's got the flow chart right in there, and I guarantee Suarez has to be high up there because the Marlins absolutely suck. The only thing I'll say, and I looked this up last Sunday because I ran some Marlins stacks, and they did pretty good. All of their damage, for some reason, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, has come on Sunday. So take it for what it is. I'm not playing the Marlins today. There's every other stack ranks much, much higher than them, but they have done a lot of damage this year on Sundays. I have no idea why. I think it's probably luck. I mean, who knows why? But if you need a reason to get off paying that high price tag on Ranger Suarez, the Marlins have showed up on Sundays. So to leave it at that, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I still have many pitchers ranked ahead of them, so I don't know if I'll get to them. I can't rule out that I'm fading them, though, on this slate.
I'm not to the point in my life yet where I'm, stacking teams based on the days of the week splits, but
Sundays are crazy, man. I mean, we've been doing this long enough, and it's like I don't have the data to back it up or anything like that. Just based off of Discord tilt and all of that, it's Sundays are wild.
Again, another thing I'm trying not to make too many decisions on is Discord tilt.
Yeah, Discord tilt. I do think we can go back to Philly. They were in my main stack yesterday. They disappointed. Obviously, no Schwarber in the lineup. I mean, the lineup is definitely weaker right now. I like the lefties in this spot, and I have them right now slated as kind of a mini stack using two players from Philly and targeting left-handed hitting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Philly very interesting there. I like Boston more than Philly, I think. I think that's going to be a choice for some people. I'm on the Boston side of that one. I just think they just have more upside. It is the biggest thing, obviously, which is what we're chasing. Let's get to another interesting game here. New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. We've got Kevin Gausman pitching for Toronto. I've been kind of off the Gausman train all year long, which for the most part has been a good decision. Just hasn't been himself. Down at 7.8K, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of like the inverse of the Ranger Suarez thing. These guys had their prices flip-flop last year and the last couple of years. But yeah, Gausman up against the Yankees. I don't think we have a Yankees lineup yet. I think Juan Soto will not be in it. He had X-rays, MRIs on a sore hand. I would imagine he's sitting out this game, which obviously would be a nice bump to Gausman if you're interested there. And then Garrett Cole pitching for the Yankees, who has made 2 starts this year. It looked like he was going to have Tommy John surgery before the season started. Decided not to do it, decided to go the rest and rehab route, which frankly almost always ends up in Tommy John surgery. So again, this is just me making what I think is an informed opinion. I think Garrett Cole right now is pitching with a torn ligament in his elbow that will eventually require surgery. I bring that all up because he had the first game, I think, in last 5 years of his career where he didn't record a single strikeout. Last time out against the Mets, got hit around in that game, negative 9.6 DraftKings points. The market AP seems to think that both these pitchers are like the previous versions of themselves. It's a 7.5 total. Neither of these teams have a team total over 4. I've been off the Gausman train, and I haven't been on, and I will not be jumping on the Cole train. I played Mets against him in his last start. I was pretty shocked that he did not go on the injured list after that last start. His velocity was down. Like I said, no strikeouts. Certainly possible that Garrett Cole looks like his old self in this game, but that's not what I think is going to happen or what I'm betting on. And I like both offenses here. They're both going to be very low owned. I know the Yankees have a good bullpen. That's concerning, but especially the Blue Jays side of this. We're trying to win a tournament, right? We're trying to beat whether it's 30,000 people or 5,000 people or 1,000 people or 50 people. It's hard to get first place. I think betting on the Garrett Cole is just not right. Outcome is a good wager to take for a very low-owned Blue Jays team, which is starting to hit a little bit recently too. So long rant for me there, but neither of these pitchers are making my pool, and I like both offenses here, specifically Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to God, who did they just beat up? They just beat up Carlos Rodon. I know different situation. He's a left-handed pitcher, but he was a guy that was really good at the start of the season, I believe. They destroyed him. Like they missed almost like nothing.
Vlad in particular is locked in right now. I think he's got
George Springer had two. He's the he had 2 bombs in that game.
Yeah.
So like Cole again was in that initial list that I listed out, but I do that primarily to like force me to dive in deeper. And I noticed, so I wasn't as on board with like the injury stuff that you talked about there. So that's great information. What I noticed was a dip in velocity, which you don't typically see with Garrett Cole when he's
literally pitching hurt, AP. Like there's just
So all of that, like what I'm saying is all of that now makes sense. Like a dip in velocity, not something that you typically see. He was missing no bats at all. And I'm on board with that stack. No one's going to want to stack up Toronto, or at least it seems like they wouldn't, against the name, Garrett Cole. You would have said, and you would have probably shipped the slate.
And his projections, the projections are fine because projections don't take into account that he's pitching with a tear in his elbow, right? They look at his last year's numbers when he didn't have the tear, and
Spencer Horwitz, is that his name? The second baseman, Vladdy. I'm on board with everyone except for maybe Bo. I think he's been kind of terrible.
Not in the lineup. You're safe.
Is he not in the lineup? All right, very good, very good. The Yankees side, I haven't been too high on Kevin Gausman with you. This Yankees lineup, not as good anymore. Obviously, missing multiple pieces now. They did put a number on. I forget, what was that, 2 games ago? They put up like 17 runs. I mean, outside of that, they've been kind of cold. And Gausman, I mean, he actually has multiple starts on the season with double strikeout games posted, which I think is pretty nice. The advanced metrics also look pretty decent relative to like his more baseline, like ERA. They're significantly lower than that. I thought Gausman was kind of a contrarian pitching option on this slate. I'm going to have a little bit of interest in him, especially if we get a watered down Yankees lineup.
Yeah, no Yankees lineup yet, which usually means a watered down version where they're trying to figure out where to hit guys in the lineup. Go ahead. So
I'm not running 150. I'm looking at the 250 4 max and the 88 is what I'm running. Have you been 150 DC, or is it kind of
most days I play 5 lineups. So that's the 4 and the 250. And then I do one other lineup that's in like the 121 single entry and like the 88 44 to get. I like to have the same buy-in or weight behind each lineup so that I treat them all, that's just like what works best for me. Yeah. So I actually haven't signed up for contests today. There's a chance I'll play. The more we talk about the slate, kind of like a lot of stuff. So I might end up playing 150 actually.
I think I think it's a really good slate for Sunday, especially.
Yeah, I'll have some good action down today, no doubt about it. And I do want to walk it back a little bit on Kevin Gausman. I think you make some good points, and especially if we get a no Juan Soto lineup, which I think is very likely. This Yankees lineup outside of Aaron Judge at this point, like if you just look at the individual hitters, to me, it doesn't look very scary whatsoever. So I do think Kevin Gausman, interesting play there at 10% if that does hold true. Let's get to the next game on the slate. We've got Patrick Corbin making another start here. We know what to do with him. Speed, right-handed power, everything plays against Corbin. I assume nobody playing him on the slate. I certainly won't be. And then Taj Bradley pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's been really, really good for the most part, has had some very strong performances. Had one horrible outing against Baltimore that kind of has skewed his stats a little bit. If you take that one out, I know you can't do that, but if you do, his season-long numbers would look really, really strong. He gets the Nationals here, who they've put up more fight this season than I anticipated, but this is still a team you want to target with opposing pitching, especially in Tampa Bay, and especially on a day AP where most of the other environments are very favorable to hitting. So I like Taj Bradley quite a bit here at 8,200. No interest in Corbin. And then, of course, we got to decide what we're doing with the Tampa Bay Rays. Anytime Patrick Corbin is pitching, it's a decision, right? Because he gets smacked around an awful lot. So I don't love this Rays lineup. I don't play the Rays very often, but today they're absolutely in the discussion, in my opinion. What do you see in AP with the Nationals and the Rays here?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. Patrick Corbin, he's actually gotten out alive in his last 3 starts. Yeah. And the one against – it's not going to last for long. The one that was the most impressive, I thought, was the Padres last week on the 24th. The Diamondbacks as well. I mean, I think these were stacks that I were probably on against them. And it's like the second you get off, then you get punished. Like, then you're like, oh, well, no shit. Then they go off. And I think that's going to be the case today. These Rays right-handed bats have really woken up. Randy's hitting the ball really well. Jose Siri is absolutely smashing the ball. I want
best play on the slate, Jose Siri, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, he's been ridiculous. What is he batting 5th now too?
Speed as well.
Yeah. So I'm very much on board. I hate this park, which makes me really like Taj Bradley. The Nationals, not the team that strike. They're pretty pesky at the plate. That's the one concern. But there's kind of something funky going on with pricing for DraftKings. We saw it yesterday during the early slate. The price, what was it? Skeens was like 8.5K. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. And on that, he had there's 2 innings where he had no command at all, and he still absolutely dealed. That dude is so impressive. And I finally got to watch the entire game, every inning, and I thought he was going to lose it. He didn't. He brought it back in, and he got the job done. It was really impressive.
I've watched all of his starts. That was by far the worst stuff that he's had all year long. Yep. Normally, he's even more impressive than that. Yeah, he's been his elbow's probably going to fall off at some point here, but he's so fun to watch while it's healthy.
But yeah, Taj Bradley, his swinging strike rate is insane. When you look at the baseline and then the advanced metrics, and then exactly what you said, if you take out that start against Baltimore, he just looks so good. So he's way too cheap here. I think he's an awesome option. Nationals, I'm not worried about them being pesky or anything like that. He should be able to limit damage here. And if you need a value-ish type of play, 8,200, I think is a really, really makes him a really, really strong option. And then I don't mind stacking up the right-handed bats for the Rays too. I'm not going to play Corbin, and I'm not going to play the Nationals.
Yeah, ownership on Tampa Bay. They're going to be popular. Sabres got them essentially the entire lineup between 10 and 20%, which is, outside of Coors Field, you don't see on a 9-game slate, stacks go much higher than that, at least in projected ownership. So, but everybody, if you're playing MLB DFS here in the dog days of summer, you know who Patrick Corbin is. You know stacking up against him is a good option, and I don't think the market's going to miss that. Nevertheless, I still think the Rays are good plays. There's good chalk and bad chalk, right, AP? And I'm willing to take a 15-20% Tampa Bay owned stack against Patrick Corbin here. They got power, speed, right-handed bats, everything you want against them. So even with the bad part, go ahead.
You usually, even on big slates too, even these really nice spots, you see ownership kind of spread out. I mean, I've seen especially a lot this year. Yeah. Yeah, we see ownership, in my opinion, as MLB DFS has evolved, ownership has condensed on pitching and has spread out on the stacks, which if you look at what the very, very best players in MLB DFS do, that's how they play, which I think has played into that pattern a little bit. Houston and the New York Mets are up next. 9 total in this one. This one in New York. Another extremely favorable day for hitting. 85 degrees, humid, winds blowing out. We've got Sean Dubin pitching for the Houston Astros. Looks like a bullpen game for them. He last pitched on the 26th. Only pitched 1 inning. I'll have to look into more what the Astros are doing because the Mets have been hot, AP. I've been talking about a lot on this show. Ever since they moved Lindor to the leadoff spot, got Vientos in there for Brett Beatty. This team has taken off. They get a bad pitcher and a bad, I think, bullpen behind him, unless I'm missing something with the Astros. So the Mets got to be in play here. Luis Severino pitching for the Mets. He's been good all season long. I've played him rather frequently, mostly with good results. I'm not going to use Severino today against the Astros. There's not enough strikeouts there, but he's good enough where I'm kind of crossing the Astros off of my list for the most part. And then it's the Mets side of this game, specifically the bats, of course, that I'm most looking at. What about UAP, Houston and New York Mets here? Yeah, I typically shy away from like bullpen games, which I thought that's what this was going to be. I hate this ballpark. And look, like it's been absolutely hammering me because I haven't been on the Mets during this run, and they just continue to absolutely smash. And I see that Grimace or whatever, like every day in Discord, people posting it. The Mangone pitcher, touching his junk. I don't know. I think it's so. What I have the actually both sides of this game is I don't have any primary stacks. What does that mean? Like I don't have them in my pool of 5-man stacks. I do have them as option as 2-man and one-offs, just because the Mets are hot right now. You could definitely isolate a piece or two in this lineup versus whoever the Astros throw at them. So that's kind of how I'm playing it. There is some potentially weather, I think, in this game, which I don't think it's going to affect bats, but it could affect pitching. And I'm not playing either pitcher on either side here. So mild interest here in the hitting. No primary stacks, though, for me.
Yeah. A little bit behind today, but looking at the Sean Dubin guy and the Astros bullpen behind him, they used Hader and Presley and Scott and Martinez all yesterday. So
are they pretty limited? I mean, maybe look, like I could be talked into bringing. We got plenty of time. There's plenty of time before the slate locks. Exactly. I could definitely be talked into hopping on the Mets, but I don't look for the New York fans out there. I don't want to ruin it for them because the second I hop on, your team's going to suck. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things I try to do as a DFS player is like, if I find something I like, try to find a reason why it won't work, right? And I'm doing it on the show on air, so I don't want to totally commit to it. But looking at this Astros bullpen and Sean Dubin himself, seems like a really, really bad spot for the Astros pitching staff to the point where I do wonder if they're just punting this game. And you've got ideal hitting conditions and a hot team in New York. Might be jumping on some Mets things unless I find something that deters me. Because right now, it seems like a very, very strong spot for them, given the state of the Astros pitching staff. We'll keep it moving for now. Colorado and the Chicago White Sox up next. Another RPS darling, Garrett Crochet, taking the hill for the White Sox. He's had a pretty tough run of matchups. He's had some good ones in there, like against Seattle when he put up 37 DraftKings points and struck out 13 hitters. We've been on this guy all year, even in the tough matchups, like the last two against the Dodgers and Houston. He's been solid in those. Despite facing two of the better lineups in baseball. Not the case here, AP. He gets the Colorado Rockies, who they're a little bit better against left-handed pitching in general, but this is still a team that you want to target. Still a team that's full of strikeouts. And unlike all the East Coast games that we talked about, it's actually going to be pretty cool in Chicago. It looks like 65, 70 degrees, crosswinds. Nothing difficult for a pitcher, especially one of Garrett Crochet's ability. He's going to be chalky today, Garrett Crochet will, but man, he looks like an amazing play to me. One where you might just eat that 50% chalk on Garrett Crochet, something I don't like to do, especially on an expensive pitcher, but this might be a spot where I take the 10 strikeouts, which is I think his strikeout prop is 9.5, which I think might be the highest of the entire season. So I don't know if that's a situation that I want to get different at. AP, no White Sox for me. Kyle Freeland on the other side. Guess you could play the White Sox bats, but to me, this game is all about what you do with Garrett Crochet. It's going to be the most popular player on this entire slate. What are you doing, AP, with Garrett Crochet?
Yeah, so a couple things too. I agree with everything that you said. You've been on this guy all season long. Been talking him up since it seems like forever now.
It's hard to. I have been since before his first start when nobody knew who he was, and now you're telling me I got to jump off because his ownership is too high in the best matchup of the season. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm right.
If you believe, let me talk a little bit about Crochet and what he's doing, because writing these playbooks up and kind of diving deep, you see a lot of different numbers. I like looking at the advanced and predictive metrics. I look at the more baseline stuff, strikeout rates, all of that. I mean, he's leading baseball right now with just under 35% strikeout rate on the season. It's 34.9%. That's top in baseball. Maybe Skeens will catch him, but he's been incredible. Then when you factor in all of the advanced predictive stuff, 2.16 xERA, 2.54 FIP, 2.32 xFIP, it's really incredible like what he's doing. He is absolutely awesome, and he hasn't had the easiest matchups, and now he gets the Rockies that have a slate leading 31% strikeout rate versus left-handed pitching over the last month. I don't know. For me, I don't really care about the ownership here. I'm going to be playing him. He's one of my favorite arms on the slate. All I'm going to say is if you believe like just weird stuff happens on Sundays, that's the only case that you could make to play like a Ranger Suarez over him. Like I honestly can't do it. Like I just think Crochet has far more upside, could absolutely put up a performance that just you have to have him on the slate, where I don't necessarily see that from Suarez unless the Marlins just totally tank here. And we might have weather in that Philly game anyway too, which fully takes me off Suarez. So I'm with you. I'm going to be eating the chalk here with Crochet, and I feel pretty good about that. I mean, the Rockies beat me. It'll be a painful day, but it is what it is. I'm not playing any Rockies bats. I do like the White Sox here against Kyle Freeland, especially the right-handed power hitters, Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. I think you can go there. I like some White Sox power here. It is cool. The winds are blowing out, but it is much cooler now in the Midwest. So it should be pretty decent pitching conditions for a guy like Crochet. But I do like some power bats against Kyle Freeland and the Rockies bullpen.
Yeah, King of Smack, Pham, Roberts, DeLong, Vaughn. I don't think the Rocky or the White Sox stack is a crazy one to go. There's just a lot of good places to get offense today. But I'm with AP. I think, this is just one where, of course, it's baseball, it's sports, anything can happen. But on paper, man, this is too good of a spot for me to move off of Crochet. And if the Sunday scaries pop up or whatever it is, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. But I'm gonna have plenty of Garrett Crochet today. Real briefly on the weather, you mentioned it in Philly there, AP. I did miss on a couple of games this week, but I do think these games are going to be fine to play all over. So right now, at least, I'm operating under the assumption that really no issues weather-wise anywhere.
Our guy Stevers is on Kyle Freeland. There we go. I mean, look, it's the White Sox. They've been bad. I'm a sucker for Luis Robert and some of the power in this lineup, and it just looks a little better than what we've seen if we go back a few weeks ago. So I don't know. But like Stevers, it's not going to be like a main stack of mine. So if they suck, and if Kyle Freeland puts up his 16 DK points, which I don't think will be enough on this slate, I'll be fine with it.
I would play Freeland if I was guaranteed 16 DraftKings points, but unfortunately, I would take the under on that number.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I played JP Sears a few slates ago. So, I mean, and I think he got me 16. So it did not end up being enough, though. I was fading chalk that night.
Cleveland and Kansas City up next. This one in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Going to be rather cool weather. It seems like the Royals have been home for like 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, they played in a lot of extremely favorable conditions. Been kind of disappointing overall, your Royals AP over the last week or so. They get Logan Allen here, who I do like to
last
target.
month, actually.
Last
month. They've been a little better over the last week, but the last month has been bad.
Bobby Witt has stayed Bobby Witt, but everybody else has kind of fallen off a little bit. They do get a good matchup here against Logan Allen, who I do like to target with right-handed hitters. I'm not sure how many Royals I'm going to get to today. Seth Lugo on the other side. Yeah, he put up the 27 piece against Miami in his last start. There's no way I'm using either of these. I would say no way. Logan Allen, honestly, at 6,200, I think is a little bit interesting against this struggling Royals team. I'm not paying the 8,800 on this slate for Seth Lugo against a contact-happy Cleveland team. I actually think the Guardians are somewhat of an interesting contrarian stack here. But ultimately, AP, I'm probably not going to have a whole lot from this game. What are you doing with the Guardians and your Royals here?
Yeah, kind of. So winds are gently blowing in, mid-70s, a little bit different. You talk about Kauffman Stadium a lot when it's like mid-90s or greater. I mean, it becomes a decent hitting park. But when it's cool, when the winds are going against us, it's not good for hitting at all. I don't mind the matchup. I mean, again, the Royals over the last week, we've seen them hit the ball a little bit better. I think it was Massey hit a bomb yesterday. So did Vinny. But Vinny hasn't been as good against left-handed pitching. Bobby Witt over the last week has kind of cooled off a little bit. But you're like digging deep when you're looking at your own team and you're trying to justify at least one like primary Royal stack. So on this fine Sunday that you can root for them. And the digging deep, kind of trying to create your own narrative, is they've been really good against pitchers who rely on the heater, the four-seam fastball, especially left-handed guys that rely on the four-seam. Logan Allen, right at a 50% pitch rate for his four-seam. Maybe the Royals get one going. On the season, they look pretty good against that pitch type. Over the last month, not so much. So take it for what it's worth. I haven't actually been playing the Royals that much, and there were a few slates where I regret not playing them. I might have a share or two, but it's not a stack that I have a ton of interest on the slate. Are they going to get ownership at all? You don't want to play the Royals if they're going to get any type of ownership at all. That's the one thing I do know.
I kind of doubt it. I'm looking now. Actually, 5 to 10%. So moderately owned. I would say maybe people saw me shaking my head. I'm kicking myself. On Friday, I've been talking about stacking against Tristan McKenzie for months now at this point. And like I said, I play the 5 teams. I went to a concert on Friday, so I didn't check my phone for a couple hours. And I always check the scores and the box scores before I check my DFS teams, just like a weird superstition type thing. And I was dead sure I had the Royals 1 through 5 stack and one of my 5 teams. I certainly created at one point, but just, sometimes when you're making your teams and you just get off something to get to something else. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to check my DraftKings app. And because I think they had 4 or 5 steals. The 1 through 5 just went absolutely crazy against McKenzie and the Guardians. And then of course, I did not have a Royal stack at all. And I was just like, that ever happened to you where you think you were on something and you weren't, and you're just like,
all the time. I mean, I'm getting old all the time. I think I'm rooting for something and I don't have it. I do got to add in real quick. I agree with Stevers here. I actually kind of like the Guardians. They beat up Seth Lugo the last time he faced them. And this Royals bullpen is so bad. It is absolutely horrendous. It could get bad in a hurry. It's just, man, the conditions are not as good as what they have been down in Kansas City as what we've seen over the last basically month. So it actually feels kind of cold outside. I mean, I'm obviously north of there, but it's cooler here. So it's in the 70s. It feels cold compared to 100 degrees last week. On Monday, it was 105 or 110. So, but I could get on board with Guardians. I don't think anyone's going to play him either. So the power bats are the ones that I would like. If they get, I played their punt guy from the Dominican. He's going to mash some balls. He's a big boy. He's 6'3", 250 pounds.
Yeah. That guy.
He launched one deep yesterday. So if he's in there too, that would definitely be a good thing. I don't think we have their lineup out though yet.
Yeah. We'll see if he's in there. But yeah, he is. I can't even think of his name right. But he's enough.
Here we go, Joey. I like that comment.
Can't relate, Joey. It never happened to PC over here. Let's get to Chicago and Milwaukee. Up next, Chicago Cubs, Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta looks like he's going to be a popular selection today. I get it against the Cubs. He's been kind of up and down this year, but this Cubs team just not really hitting right now. And then Kyle Hendricks going for the Cubs has actually had 2 pretty strong outings in a row. Had that crazy game against San Francisco. It was the perfect Wrigley win game, and he just owned many people. 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run over 5 2/3, and then backed it up. Went back to San Francisco, faced the same team, went 7 innings, only 4 strikeouts, but 100 pitches, and a pretty good outing there. I don't know what to think about the Kyle Hendricks. Well, my opinion is that he's going to turn it into a dust ball very quickly again, and I think the Brewers are interesting here, but I don't know. Kind of got a bad feeling going up against Kyle Hendricks. Not sure what to do with this game. AP, what are you doing with Cubs and Brewers here?
I've definitely stacked against Kyle Hendricks a few times, and it has not gone my way. So and I've been kind of a Brewers hater or made fun of them. They've been kind of bad, but I could see them randomly going off again. It's just one of those stacks that gets kind of lost in the mix on a slate like this, and then it's at the end of the day, one of those hindsight things oh yeah, I should have considered them against Hendricks. So I'm really torn if I'll add them into my pool. Right now, they're not in the pool, but I get it. Kyle Hendricks, he's been pitching above his head. I don't see that lasting. I mean, he's had 3 nice starts in a row. 2 of them were back-to-back starts against the Giants. I don't know. That could definitely change here in a hurry. The Cubs, so Freddie Peralta, definitely high up on my list. I guess my main question is, can I play Crochet and another stud SP on the slate? Or do we punt with the Gaussman, Bradley, or a guy that we'll talk about? We haven't talked about yet, Hunter Green. My lean is the latter route there. So it really becomes Peralta or Crochet for me. I worry a little bit about the middle. Like the Cubs are kind of interesting right now. The middle of the order is mashing the ball, led by Ian Happ. The dude's been absolutely on fire right now. I think it wasn't either he or play of the day like sometime last week. Someone on the show got me on him, and then it's just, man, he's been absolutely on fire. So Suzuki as well. Swanson is starting to hit the ball too. So I kind of worry a little bit about this matchup. I think the other thing too is I think the last time he faced the Cubs, he absolutely nuked. I think he had 11 strikeouts in like 5 innings. So I think as a Cubs team, you know that's in the back of your mind. And it's like, do you really want this guy to absolutely mow you down again? I don't know. So I'm trying to talk myself off of kind of chalk Peralta to eat the chalk Crochet. I don't know what your thoughts on there. I'm not fading Peralta or anything like that. I guess I have a few concerns for whatever reason against this Cubs team today.
I don't think Peralta's a bad play, but at least in my mind, he is not nearly doesn't nearly have the upside or the safety of Garrett Crochet. I know Crochet will be higher on, but it's hard, I think, to get them both into one lineup and get bats that you want. And Crochet is the one that I'm willing to eat the chalk with. Again, I think Peralta's a totally fine play. If you can fit both, by all means. But for me, when it comes down to it, if I've got to choose one, it's pretty easily Crochet over Peralta, even at a little bit higher of ownership. Just as good as Peralta is, I don't think they're quite the same caliber of pitcher. And also, the matchup for Crochet is way better than the matchup for Peralta. So, relatively easy choice for me on that one. Let's get to the last game on the slate, though. We'll do pitching, stacks, all that stuff after we talk about Cincinnati and St. Louis. We've got a 7.5 total here. Again, cooler weather in St. Louis, 80 degrees, humid, wind blowing in. Should play like a pitcher's park today. One of the better pitcher's parks on this slate, I think. Hunter Green going for the Cincinnati Reds. We saw in his last start, what was the second batter of the game? He threw up on the mound and then gave up a home run, and it just went south.
I had him in my 3K team. It was painful. It was painful seeing that.
You don't want to see your main pitcher vomiting on the mound in the second bat. Not a good.
I mean, you know the night you're closing the laptop. You know the night's over. You see that, and then immediately, who was it? It was a Pirate. Brian Reynolds absolutely nukes one. You're like, all right, the night's over. On to whatever it is that we had on the schedule later on in the evening. It was definitely over.
My new thing this season, I watch baseball not every day, but a lot of days, and I've had a lot of success live betting in spots like that because the algorithm doesn't take into account that the pitcher just puked on the mound. So you bet the Pirates over, and there you go. If you're watching all the baseball games, there are some spots like that. But
you just Chris, you got to just learn to kind of. It's painful in the moment, but you got to learn to just, hey man, it happens, and laugh it off and move on. That was a tough pitching slate. It was a really, really tough pitching slate. So
if you play a lot of DFS, sometimes you get a ticket like that or whatever, and sometimes it goes south in a hurry. That's just part of the game that we play. But obviously back in action here. I think he kind of recovered toward the end of that start, if I'm not mistaken.
So, DC, here's what I heard and read, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but it was really hot. It was really, really, really hot. He had issues in the last start, too, against the Pirates where he got sick, but he mowed them down. And that was in Pittsburgh, but it was even hotter. It was 100 degrees. I'm pretty sure because it was 105 here in Nebraska, and I think the heat got to him. And so the first thing I looked at is what's the temperatures in St. Louis. low 80s, maybe in the upper 70s, winds blowing it. So like, I'm not worried about him overheating. So I don't know if you heard or read that as well, but that's kind of what I saw. I don't think it was like the flu or anything like that. I think it was like heat induced type of sickness.
Yeah. My point was, I think he will be good to go here. Wouldn't worry at all, really, about his last poor performance. And one thing that's interesting about Hunter Green, I don't actually think this is a good strategy for the Reds long term, but the truth of the matter is they let this guy go deep into games. I mean, even on his last game, one of his worst performances of the season, where he threw up on the mound on the second batter, he still let the man throw 93 pitches. Prior to that, he had thrown 105 plus pitches in 5 straight games. That's just not – he's like the only one. He's an outlier right now in terms of the amount of duration that they let Hunter Green go. And coming off that start, coming off 2 starts in extreme heat, now he gets – again, it's not cold out, but it's comfortable, right, for Hunter Green here. I really do like him at 8,500. St. Louis has shown some life recently. Not a perfect matchup, but I just think Green is kind of underpriced for the upside that he brings. And maybe some people will shy away after he busted his chalk. Looks like he'll be 25 to 30% owned. I think that's fine for Hunter Green. I like him quite a bit here at 8,500. Actually, I don't like Lance Lynn as a pitcher, but I don't think he's the craziest play either in this stadium with the wind blowing in, a strikeout.
We can't go there. I watched the starting, so I stacked the Braves against them, and I mean, shame on me for doing that. The Braves have just been absolutely horrendous. But I like the spot power against a guy that just throws, weak four-seam fastballs down the center of the plate, which he did. I think he generated, like it's in the playbook, maybe like 3 total whiffs on his four-seam fastballs. You go over there to any pitching site that, documents this stuff, all just right across the middle of the plate, and the Braves could not do a thing with it. So I can't get to Lynn. I like the fastball hitters on the Red side. But I hear you. With the conditions, good ballpark for pitching. There are crazier options, but look, we just talked about Taj Bradley. He's like, 400 or 500 more than Lance Lynn. So that's like the somewhat mistake from a pricing standpoint on the slate is what has me off of guys like Lance Lynn. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna stump too hard for Lance Lynn.
I was hoping you would. It would make for good content.
I think he's an okay play. Is the best I can do, but I do like Taj Bradley better. I like Hunter Greenway better. I like Kevin Gausman better. So ultimately, I'm with you, AP. I'm not gonna play Lance Lynn.
You ever get those spots though where you feel so confident in a stack in a spot, and this was the Braves full Braves power stack against Lance Lynn, and it's like you just the next day you're looking up you're diving in deep, you're looking up everything, you're looking at all the pitches and just to justify the stack. That's what I did with the Braves against Lance Lynn. And looking at it, it was pathetic.
Every single morning. If you ever has it ever happened, only every morning during the baseball season. Our guy Alan here does bring up a good point. Lynn has allowed 10 steals on the season. They got Pedro Pajes, who has not had a lot of success throwing out runners behind the plate. Looks like a good spot for our man Ellie De La Cruz, to be honest. And
who are the other base runners that you like? Like Jonathan India, he's been insane. He'll run too, right?
Fraley will run. Steer has some speed. Noelvi Marte, more of a power guy than a speed guy, but he looks very promising to me. Has come out of the gates hitting pretty well. So yeah, Benson. I got to talk about this. You guys mentioned this on a show within the last week or so, because I don't remember anything past 2 weeks. The value of stolen bases, it's hard to factor in, but when you're full stacking, I think it's just an underrated thing to look at when you get an opportunity like this. Yeah, you have to get on base and everything, but that can absolutely make your stack
go off. Like you're not solely reliant on runs and home runs.
They don't show up as much in projections because they're still relatively uncommon. But when you look at it from a full stack perspective, right? It's like if the Reds have a good day here, it's probably going to include like 5 or 6 stolen bases, which adds so much to a stack compared to a team without any speed. And that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for the top 1% or 2% or 5% outcomes. And stolen bases, they don't add anything to the floor because, like you mentioned, you got to get on base before that it matters at all. But at least in my opinion, they're very correlated with big fantasy outcomes. So, yeah, I like the Reds quite a bit here. Elly De La Cruz leading the way for me as he often does. AP, that's all 9 games. Good discussion here. Let's get to. I think you know the drill at this point. Your favorite stack and your favorite contrarian stack on the slate.
Yeah, so my favorite stack. I mean, we talked about a lot of good ones. Assuming weather is not a concern, the Padres are just in such a good spot. Weather is just going to be awesome for hitting. Wind's blowing out, 90 degrees. Padres have been really hot. I think they get it done. Should be kind of a popular stack, but everyone hates playing the bottom of the lineup. Look at those guys down there. Ha-Dong Kim, batting 7th. I mean, all of them are in play down there. So I think you can get a little bit different with that stack. I think my favorite contrarian stack is this last game that we talked about, and it's the Reds against Lance Lynn. Maybe Lance Lynn owns me once again. But from everything that I see, I think there's a lot of hittable pitches there. The conditions aren't the best. The park is not the best, but the fact that you can run on him, I think, is what kind of sends it over the top for me. Just looking at some of these options down here, and then pricing too will make them in play because you can plug in some of these cheap hitters with an Elly De La Cruz who's 6'3", has to be low owned on this slate as well. So I'm gonna go Reds and Padres for my 2 stacks today.
Love both those stacks. I was going to actually go with the Reds as my contrarian. I'll go a different route, though. But first, I'll go with my favorite overall stack. It's going to be the Mets against bullpen game for Houston, starting Sean Dubin, who's not any good. And I'm seeing a gassed-out pen behind him. I'm not honestly sure what the Astros' plan is to get through this game. It kind of seems like they're punting it to some extent, which – if that's true, give me the stack against the pitching staff that's punting. So I love the Mets here. Contrarian for me, there's a lot of good stacks today, but I'm going to go with the Blue Jays against Garrett Cole, who to me seems not himself. The results show that. The velocity shows that. The MRI shows that on Garrett Cole's elbow. Maybe he's got a couple good outings in him, or maybe he's totally fine. If that's the case, then my Blue Jay stacks will go down in flames. But I'm betting against that at this point. And the Blue Jays have been picking it up a little bit. They're also very cheap. Their most expensive hitter on the entire roster is Vlad Guerrero. He's only 4.5K. So you can fit this Blue Jay stack in with 2 studs pretty easily if you want to go that route. Seems like a pretty good route to me. AP, your most important pitcher. We define that on the show as the pitcher you think you'll be most over the field versus any other pitcher. Who do you got for us?
It's really tough because it's actually such a good question because I don't think it's going to be the guy that I'm like highest on, but looking at ownership, but I think Kevin Gossman's going to go, I think he's going to fly under the radar, and I love the spot for him against a watered-down Yankees lineup. I could have said, Crochet, he's one of my favorite, or Taj Bradley, who we talked up, but I think most important is going to be Kevin Gausman at 7.8K. I mean, 200 more than Lance Lynn. And even though he's had his ups and downs on the season, at least Gausman has posted, 2 or 3 double-digit strikeout starts. I think he could absolutely get it done against a watered-down Yankees team. So I'm going to say he's my most important on this slate.
Yeah, I like the Gausman call. I will have a share of him for sure. My most important pitcher will be Taj Bradley at 8,200 there. Pitching at home, gets the Nationals, and gives you a little bit of a savings as well. The Sabres got him around 15% ownership, which I would be thrilled to get him at that price point at 8,200. So Taj Bradley going to be an important pitcher for me today. AP, home run call. Who's going yard today?
Home run call. That's a great question. I failed at getting this part prepared for the show. So let me go to one of those, what I think is going to be a somewhat contrarian spot against our boy Stevers. Luis Robert, 4.9K. I love him against lefties. Good fly ball hitter. And I could see a spot where the White Sox only put up 2 or 3 runs. Hopefully one of them is a home run from Luis Robert.
Like that call, I will go with Brandon Marsh going deep for the Phillies in the cleanup spot today rather. AP, last question, your favorite hitter on this slate?
Yeah, I want to go to I think the Padres is too easy. Ellie De La Cruz, I think, is really interesting. 6.3K. It just has to cap his ownership. Bobby Witt's. Yeah, Bobby Witt's got Bobby Witt's been he's really cooled off, and I think the spot's just a little bit better for Ellie. So going in the stud range for hitting, going against my boy Bobby Witt, but Ellie De La Cruz, one of my favorite hitters on the slate. It was him or India. I think both are lowish.
Well, they're hitting right next to each other, so you'll be in on those top of the order red stacks. I will be as well. My favorite hitter on the slate, though, will be Jose Siri. We mentioned him when talking about the Rays. Power, speed against Corbin, who gives up both. Siri on fire recently as well, 3.4K. He'll be, I assume, one of the more popular hitters on the slate, but in my opinion, about as good as it gets in terms of point per dollar and upside and all that stuff. So Jose Siri, my favorite hitter. That'll do it for this show. Thanks, AP, for joining me today. It will return, of course, at the normal time on Monday, tomorrow. Oh, actually, that's not true. Did you look at the baseball slate tomorrow? I have no idea why it's this way, but there's only 3 games spread out throughout the day. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
July 1st. I have no idea. Maybe I'm missing.
I didn't know, book a tea time or something.
Usually I'm saying. I'm probably going up to the mountains and running with the dog up there or something. So probably no show. Yep. But we'll be back on Tuesday. Thanks for watching, everybody. We really do appreciate it. Good luck to all of you in your lineups. Hopefully see some RPS logos up top. For AP, I'm Draft Sheet. We're out of here.